Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about a piece of advice that is practically woven into the DNA of American culture. It's the ultimate hustle mantra. You've heard it in business school, you've heard it in TED Talks, and you've probably whispered it to yourself right before a job interview where you felt completely out of your league. The phrase is, of course, fake it till you make it. It suggests that if you just act the part, if you wear the suit, talk the talk, and project absolute confidence, eventually, reality will catch up. It's the idea that you can manufacture competence out of thin air just by believing it enough. But lately, I've been asking myself, is this actually good advice, or is it a trap? Because we are living in the era of the scammer. We've seen the fire festivals and the Elizabeth Holmes scandals. We've seen what happens when faking it goes too far. There is a very thin line between aspirational confidence and straight-up fraud. So today, we are going to do a deep dive. We're going to look at the psychology and the science to answer the question, does faking it actually work? And how do you do it without becoming a total fraud? Let's start with the why. Why is this advice so popular? I think it speaks to a universal human experience. Impostor syndrome. I don't care if you are a CEO or a fresh college grad. There is a voice in your head that says, I have no idea what I'm doing, and any minute now, security is going to escort me out of the building. In the US, we love the underdog story. We love the self-made person, and faking it feels like the engine of that story. It's about bridging the gap between who you are right now and who you want to be. And here is the crazy thing. Science actually backs this up. There was a fascinating study called the Batman effect. Researchers took a group of kids and gave them a boring, repetitive task. One group was told to just be themselves. The other group was told to imagine they were a superhero, like Batman. The result? The kids who pretended to be Batman worked significantly longer and harder. Why? Because they were faking the traits they associated with that character. They stepped outside of their own insecurities and adopted a persona that was stronger and more disciplined. This is called psychological distancing, and it allows us to detach from our anxiety and perform at a higher level. This ties into self-perception theory. Usually, we think our feelings drive our behavior. I feel confident, so I stand up straight. But the theory says it works both ways. If you force yourself to stand up straight and speak clearly, your brain thinks, oh, I must be powerful. So in this sense, yes, faking the feeling of confidence can generate real confidence. It's a feedback loop. When you act confident, people treat you with respect, which makes you feel more confident. Suddenly, you aren't faking it anymore. However, and this is a massive however, we have to talk about the dark side, because there is a huge difference between faking confidence and faking competence. Let's look at the Theranos situation. Elizabeth Holmes modeled herself after Steve Jobs. She wore the black turtlenecks, she lowered her voice, and she projected absolute certainty. She faked the confidence perfectly. The problem? She was also faking the science. She was faking the competence. That is where fake it till you make it becomes dangerous. If you are a pilot, I do not want you faking it. If you are my brain surgeon, I need you to have made it a long time ago. So the distinction is this. Are you faking the skills or are you faking the courage? If you lie on your resume and say you know Python when you don't, that's a lie. That's a time bomb. But if you know how to code, but you're terrified to speak up in the meeting because you think you're not senior enough, that is where you need to fake it. You need to fake the entitlement to be in the room. There's actually a better phrase for this. Be it until you become it. Think about learning a language. When you start learning Spanish, you feel ridiculous. You are stumbling through lines. You are faking being a Spanish speaker. But is that lying? That's practicing. You cannot become a confident speaker without first being a terrified speaker who is acting calm. The faking is the scaffolding you put up while you build the real building underneath. So, how do we apply this ethically? How do we use this tool without becoming a fraud? I've got 3 strategies for you. Number 1, the alter ego method. This is the Batman effect for adult. Beyoncé used to have an alter ego named Sasha Fierce. She said Beyoncé was shy, but Sasha was fearless. She used that persona to access parts of herself she couldn't access normally. If you have a high-stakes negotiation, don't go in as insecure you. Go in as the version of you who is a shark. Give that version a name if you have to. It creates distance between your fragile ego and the risk of failure. Number 2, focus on learning, not proving. The reason faking it feels gross is because we are obsessed with proving we are experts. If you shift your mindset to, I am a learner, you don't have to fake perfection. You can say, I don't know the answer, but I will find out. That is actually a form of confidence. Real confidence is being comfortable with what you don't know. The biggest fakers are the ones terrified of admitting ignorance. Number 3, visualize the process, not just the outcome. A lot of advice tells you to visualize the mansion and the applause. But athletes do something different. They visualize the sweat. They visualize the training. If you want to fake it effectively, visualize yourself handling the difficult questions. Visualize yourself stumbling and recovering. That way, your brain has a roadmap. You aren't deluding yourself that everything will be perfect. You are preparing to handle imperfection with grace. I also want to touch on the body language aspect. You've probably heard of power posing. Even if the science on the hormones is debated, the psychological truth remains. Your body leads your mind. If you shrink, you feel small. If you expand, you feel big. So, before that big Zoom call, don't sit hunched over. Stand up. Stretch. Take up space. Trick your brain into thinking you are the alpha in the situation. It's a biological hack. But let's circle back to the warning label. When does this become toxic? It becomes toxic when you start believing your own hype without putting in the work. We live in an era of influencers selling courses on how to get rich, and their only qualification is that they are good at selling courses. That is hollow. Those people are living in a house of cards. True confidence, the kind that lasts, is quiet. It doesn't need to scream. So, my advice is this. Don't fake who you are. Fake your courage. Fake the courage to ask for the raise. Fake the courage to introduce yourself. Fake the courage to launch the project you're only 60% qualified for. Use the mantra as a tool to overcome inertia. Use it to silence the inner critic just long enough to take action. Because once you take action, you get data. You get experience. And that experience builds competence. And one day, you're going to wake up, look around at the life you've built, and realize you aren't faking it anymore. You made it. And you made it not because you were a great liar, but because you were brave enough to start before you were ready. I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Have you ever faked it and had it work out? Or have you ever tried it and had it blow up in your face? Let's talk about it. And if you're faking being a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make it real. It helps the channel out a ton. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep hustling, but keep it real. Peace.